This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
Yo, this is Rob Margie, and you're listening to Our Lifestyle podcast.
Yo, it's Our Lifestyle podcast, also known in short as OLP. We can't thank you enough for coming back and rocking with us. Episode 362. This is not the normal Friday drop. This is going to be what I refer to as a special edition episode of OLP, and we've got a lot in store to talk about. You heard just a moment ago our title sponsor. We have to thank Scrapin the Coast. And what I want to do now is roll in. I'm going to call Nick from Scrapin the Coast. He is the lead judge, and we're going to talk for a few minutes about this epic event. Oh, by the way, that is in the Hall of Fame for the Mini Truck Hall of Fame. So, without further ado, let me give Nick a call. Big shout out to Scrapin the Coast and the whole crew there that puts on a killer event every June in Biloxi. Hey, as I mentioned, super excited. We're going to roll into this episode. We're talking about the Mini Truck Hall of Fame, but we want to give some love to our title sponsor, Scrapin the Coast. And we got Nick here. Of course, Scrapin the Coast brought to you by American Force. And Nick, man, I just want to say thanks for taking a minute here to sit down with us.
No doubt, man. I appreciate having me on.
Yeah, no problem. And it was cool because, typically we're used to hearing, Lauren or Tammy. And Lauren was like, you know what, let's get a little bit different voice this year. And I said, yeah, let's link up with Nick. How about that?
Yeah, I appreciate it. She said the same thing. I was like, you know what? I'm not usually the one in front of the camera, but it's, see you guys all the time, hang out all the time. So, cool, let's do it.
You got it. And a couple things people hear us talk about all year. June comes around. The summer's here. June 21st, 22nd, 23rd, of course, is this awesome blowout 3-day weekend event there in Biloxi at the Coliseum. Talk to us about a few key things that you may want to reinforce from the Scrapin the Coast team standpoint.
Biggest things, is, we're all out there to have a good time, but is focusing on, the respect,
Yes,
everything that the staff and the promoters and not even people associated with Scrapin, but the Coliseum in general, where we do the show, is just respect for what they're having to do, appreciation for that, and just, understanding, be careful what you do, be careful what you say, and just respect the space. The big thing is it's not easy. Any show,
sure.
All the time and thought that goes into putting them on, much less, a show when it's a multi-day show. There's so many moving parts, and just trying to stay focused on everything that has to go on is like, man, it's some people don't realize everything that goes into it. So it's just like, if you have a question or you have a concern, just be patient, just work with everybody.
Yeah, 100%. I've been to a lot of shows the last 25 plus years, and, Scrapin brings in a lot of people, the local jurisdictions out there, making sure that things are safe and whatnot. And we love seeing so many show goers. When people go to the website, Scrapin with an IN, scrapinthecoast.com, they're going to see a lot of information, including the schedule. And something that I wanted to jump right into, Nick, was if you think about one of these names, Frank from Red's Hydraulics in South Florida, my understanding was that Frank's going to be coming out, as well as one of the local shops there, Ray's Hydraulics. And how excited is the Scrapin the Coast team for this, like, kind of hop off, bed dancing, and some of the things that you're expecting?
And it's always been a big aspect of Scrapin the Coast. Miles, one of the promoters of the show, that's his, like, bread and butter. It's always been his thing. And even for people who aren't really big into the car scene, there's always a big turnout for the hydraulic competition because, who doesn't want to see these cars hopping? Who doesn't want to see the dancer? So, when you start promoting it, it draws a whole new crowd out there, plus everybody that's in the scene that's already there for the show. In the past years when we've done it, and we took a couple years off, but in the past years we did it, for the hour leading up to the competition, everybody's piled around the barricades just waiting because they want to be the one right there by the barricade that gets the good video of everything hopping off. So for Frank and his guys down in Miami to make it back down, it's been a few years, I think, since they've been in.
Sure.
For them to come down from Miami, and they have a huge following in the hydraulic community and the custom scene in general.
Sure.
And then with our local guys, Ray over in New Orleans, and it's the whole, down south rollers and that whole crew over there, everybody that's associated with the lowrider car clubs, they'll come in heavy. And it's a great environment. It's a great family atmosphere, and it's definitely a crowd pleaser.
Oh, yeah. And here's something really cool. Talking with you guys and staying really connected throughout the year, you've been very clear that this is something that people are going to want to hear, because not only if you're a spectator for this hydraulic competition or you're a participant, the $3,000 purse is kind of going to be spread amongst various folks. So you're not going to have one big dog maybe walk away with fat pockets. You're going to have a few people be able to participate and potentially win some funds, and that's always going to help bring the good competition.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's the exhibition of it's a big thing. That's a big draw for everybody. But on top of it, for these guys that put all the money into their setups, and then they come out here and tear it up for everybody.
Right.
It's kind of a good feeling, though. You might be walking with a little bit of money to replace a pump or cylinders that may get damaged or anything like
Sure.
that. It's a good idea knowing that you could walk away with money to help you fix it.
Oh, yeah. So one thing that's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts is the pre-parties, right? The pre-party, the after-party. Talk to us about Friday's going to be, I understand, on site, and then what to expect on Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a big change for this year. Traditionally, there's always been a pre-party. It's usually been off-site, but we've decided to bring it in to the property this year and kind of keep everybody there at the Coliseum. Give opportunities to be in the scene right there where everything is and keep the party going all evening. Not just, the show ends and everybody leaves, which is traditionally how it happens.
Sure.
In the past few years, not Scrapin in general, but just the car show scene in general, which you hear, which, a couple of the shows we've been to in the past year were out after there's these lot parties, and
Sure.
causes a lot of problems. Police get called in, and it creates a bad name for shows. So,
Sure.
It's one of those things that we're just kind of trying to do what we can to pull away from that, trying to keep everybody there, having a good time on property, control the madness, I guess, and just, again, promote a good time.
Yeah, so on Friday, you can come enjoy the show, you can peel away, go get dinner, take a quick shower, come on back. If that's something you want to do, maybe you're not accustomed to the area and you want to experience what Scrapin the Coast has to offer. Now, Scrapin the Coast is brought to you by American Force, and something that's important is they usually have a pretty cool experience, shortly after, a lot of folks will come in the turnstiles, they'll go through the indoor area, and then they'll want to explore outside, and then they'll be kind of they'll float out of the Coliseum and they'll land kind of in the American Force experience. And that's got to be a cool thing, because with the lifted rides that they bring out, they usually have their own DJ, they have their own apparel and stuff. That's got to be a good feeling for the Scrapin the Coast team to know that American Force continues to come back every year.
Oh, man, definitely. And it was like you said, as soon as spectators, they come in through the entrance, and your first moment you walk outside, it's an American Force explosion in your face. It's from right there where all the rides they have set up to down to the corner where they have their big setup and banners and everything. It's just like your first experience is nothing but high quality builds.
Oh, yeah.
And Jason and his crew, when they come out, they show out. They do a great job. They're always there, having a good time, great attitudes. Everybody that's with them, not just their staff, but the people who they're sponsored and whatnot, they have a great experience, and they love being there, and they help show a great time for everybody.
Oh, yeah. The cool thing is, just for the audience, they're going to have some lifter stuff. They're going to have some lowered stuff. David DeCorver's dually was there last year, kind of in the mix, which was super cool. So awesome stuff. Now, before they exit out of the Coliseum, one of these key things that we want to reinforce is that Scrapin the Coast this year, in the last few years, they have come out with multiple pieces of artwork. You're talking a lifted Ram, a C10, an International with an Impala on it, a two-door Tahoe, And oh, by the way, one of our favorite things, 2 Mitsubishi Mighty Maxes on one shirt. Say that 10 times fast. How important is it for folks to go visit the merchandise booth? Because I know that stuff sells quick.
It is. That's the biggest thing is the weeks leading up to it, as on the Facebook page, whenever they unveil the artwork, everybody's already trying to, hey, can you hold me this? Can you hold me that?
Right.
Can you mail them? And the thing is, they go quick.
Yeah.
So if you are coming, or even if you just want to come grab a shirt, don't wait till Sunday to come grab a shirt. Don't wait till Saturday evening. If you're gonna, you want to grab a couple shirts for you and the family, the kids, or if you have a vehicle that's on one of the shirts, don't wait till the last minute.
Don't
because
wait.
They sell out. And that's as much as we like to keep ordering them, but you stop at some point.
Yeah, you got to stop at some point, exactly. And that's a key thing I like to reinforce, because even myself, years ago, I went to go get the shirt that had the Lincoln on it, and I was like, dang it, why did I say I was going to come back? Just buy it then. That's the key thing. Now, we love DJ Mays. DJ Mays DJs so many of these events throughout the country. A lot of folks, go to shows to hang out and slap hands with him. He's going to be there. But, of course, as we mentioned, American Force is going to have their DJ. And I know that DJ Mix Maestro, he's got a huge following in the Gulf Coast region. He's going to be doing a special set on Saturday. Talk to us about that, Nick.
Yeah. For anybody that's not from the area, or if you came by last year, he did a set as well. Mix Maestro, he has for years, he's had a huge following here on the coast. So to kind of mix him in with Mays, it kind of changed it up a little bit. They have great chemistry. They hung out last year at the show, so it was a great success. And one big thing is we love having all our DJs that do all the shows with us, but it's always a great thing when you can introduce local talent to everybody as well, and it just kind of spreads the love, with everybody.
Oh yeah. Now, as we're talking with Nick, we want to reinforce a couple folks, and Nick, keep me honest here. I mentioned American Force. But when you think of coastal Mississippi that have been with you guys, Scrapin the Coast team, since day one, that helps bring in the tourism, you think of Plan B, Elevate, JTX Forge, Monster Z, and some of these different vendors that come out. A lot of times folks are going to see like Bill from Extensive Metal, Texas Metal, our kinfolk at KIK, right? So many different awesome vendors out there. What's the feeling like when you see so much support from the car and truck community come out to be able to vend there at the Coliseum?
It really is a great thing, because without the vendors and the sponsors we have, because a lot of these, they've been coming for years. It's not
sure.
We'll grab a new vendor, a new sponsor here and there, but a lot of these major sponsors that everybody just named, they've been with us for years. So for them to continue coming back, it says a lot. It means a lot. Without a lot of these people, it's hard to make these shows happen.
Exactly.
Because, we got a great venue. We got a great location right here on the beach. It's a great setting for a show. But then it just kind of puts it over the top when you get names like American Force, that everybody wants to follow. And then our clothing vendors, KIK, those guys, everybody loves to come out and see them. It helps big time. And without them, it's hard to make a show a success.
Yeah, 100%. And what I've always noticed, I live in Florida, so I grew up swimming in lakes and as well as, at the beaches. But something that you'll hear from a lot of showgoers, it's the summer. You'll hear folks go, hey, I'm going to take the kids across the street. There is kind of a path that the folks can get over there, or they can, make their commute over to put their toes in the sand, so to speak. And I always thought the forethought of having an event there was so awesome. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's great, and that's one thing is we make sure to let everybody know it's not just a show. It's not just the adults. It's a great family event. It's a great family venue, and just coming down to the coast in general. There's a couple guys last year I talked to that came from Houston, and I think it maybe the second time coming, and they brought their family this time. And they stayed in Margaritaville. I was like, man, even if your family doesn't want to be at the show, if you want to make it a summer vacation, bring the whole family. You're here doing the show for a few hours, and y'all go do family events. We got Margaritaville down the road. They have, there's the hotel, a giant arcade. They have a amusement park there now, Ferris wheel, all the good stuff. We got a water park. There's tons of family events on the coast where, you could do the show for X amount of hours and say, all right, let's go do some family stuff, and there's plenty to do. There's no shortage of anything to do where we're at.
Oh yeah, one of the special things about Scrapin the Coast is the awards. People come from far and wide because the awards are unbelievable. I know Gooch does a ton with the big kind of surfboards and things like that, but I know that you also work very closely with Welch's Chop Shop as well as Creative House. What are a few things you could maybe reinforce about awards this year? I know people are going to need to make sure they keep the space if they're looking to win one of those, because those specialty awards are huge.
Definitely. I mean, everybody comes out. Everybody wants one of the surfboards. I mean, that's like a huge draw. Is always having top tier awards for everybody. And Gooch, he does some great artwork on the surfboards. Welch's, they do a bunch of our medal awards for specialty awards. And then Creative, they do a lot of our first, second, third, our place classification awards.
And they're still awesome. Yep.
Yeah, every single one of them are awesome. They're all high quality. So, everybody wants to get an award. And it's just make sure, we do our judging in the back. Just make sure you're coming through. And again, going back to the very beginning of the conversation, we're talking about things for people coming in to kind of keep in mind is with the judges. We have a lot of entrants coming through there. It's like if it may take a while, just have patience. We got one person judging every lifted Ford, to stay consistent. We got one person judging every lifted GM. We want to, so in order to be consistent with it, it takes a while sometimes for some of these larger classes. So just, patience. Be patient with the judges. We got a lot going on. We want to get everybody taken care of. And everybody likes to talk about their rides. So, we're going to sit there and go through it with you.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's something that's really unique. We've reinforced this throughout the years as you have this drive-through judging that's kind of like pre the event. So when the folks arrive and they kind of snake around the beautiful Coliseum there, the back entrance, if you will, and they go through the indoor space, they're literally in there, right? If they got the trailer or they're driving their rig, their vehicle, if you will, they get judged right there. They get the sticker placed on the windshield. And then at that point, right, Nick, keep me honest, for the most part, as long as they've done that, they don't have to worry about or stress at all the rest of the weekend. They can go have fun.
That's it. Once we get you judged, some people are there first thing Friday want to get judged, ready to roll. Once you get that done, it's knocked out, figure out where you want to park, have a good time, grab a drink, pass out in the grass, walk around, whatever you want to do. Just have a good time for the rest of the weekend.
Oh, yeah, I love it. And that's honestly one of the most well-oiled machines, I think, in the truck scene. That experience of being able to come in, and you're inside, you're out of the sun, and you go through that back, you're just like, wow, I'm done. Like literally, a lot of people might stress or, hey, I don't want to leave my ride because what if the judge comes by? You don't have any of that, yeah. And that's great for your staff because you don't have people out there going, where's Waldo, right?
It is. It's great when you get in a show. It's gotten to be that large, in a show of that magnitude. It's
sure.
It's not like we're going to most of these like top 25, top 75 shows where it's easy to walk around and go check everything out and at your leisure. But with this magnitude, we'd be here for a week and a half walking around trying to get everything judged. So the ability to do the drive-through judge and it helps
next
a lot.
Level. Oh yeah,
definitely.
We want to give a huge shout out to Tammy, Lauren, and all of the Scrapin the Coast staff. Every time we go there, it's top tier, people that are super nice. Again, Nick reinforced that you want to be, of course, kind and polite to the staff there, wear your armbands. We're talking June 21st, that Friday, the 22nd, the 23rd. You guys that are going to be spectators, you can go and spectate. You can pay one price for the entire weekend, which is fantastic. We talked about the pre-party. We talked about the Saturday party, of course. One thing I want to reinforce is, let's say you're on the edge or on the fence about going. This is a 2022 Mini Truck Hall of Fame inductee. So Scrapin the Coast has been around 20 plus years. They celebrated the 20th a couple years back. And there's so many awesome things about this event. If you go to the website, Scrapin with an IN, thecoast.com, you can also see the full entire schedule. Of course, always subject to change, right, Nick? But at least it's out there and it gives people a roundabout estimate.
Oh, definitely. I mean, every year we're changing things that we're trying to improve upon what we've done in the past. So, we may make small changes here and there to figure out what works. I mean, because ultimately it's constantly growing, constantly evolving. So we want to, with that, we want to get better every year. So, we do lay the schedule out. We want to be as close to that if not better. So, things may change a little bit, but, always ask. We'll do what we can to help you out and figure out if there are changes. We'll let you know where we can.
Hey, the last thing I wanted to hit upon, because this popped in my head, once the people do the drive-through judging, do they still have to go inside the Coliseum to the one room where they have to do, is that their registration piece that they have to do?
So once they've got to us as the judges,
Yep.
they've already registered everything.
Okay.
Whether they pre-reg and all that, they've gotten with Tammy or Lauren or one of the girls in the office. They've got all their paperwork. They've already been squared away. So literally,
Good.
once they hit judging, they're good to go. And whether it's either pull out front, find your spot to park, or if you're in an inside spot, just going to the bay right next to us and getting back in the AC.
Yeah, fantastic. Listen, I will tell everybody, you guys live in the South. I live in the South as well. It has been hot. I think as we get older, the heat definitely impacts us a little bit different. I would tell everybody, stay hydrated. Again, one of the most underrated things about this event is they have air conditioning in that amazing, huge facility, the Coliseum. Feel free to go in there. There's a little snack bar in the lobby. It's more than a snack bar. There's hot dogs, hamburgers, drinks. There's places to sit down. Of course, it gets very busy. But I will tell you, there's indoor bathrooms. It's a beautiful venue, and all of that lobby, for the most part, is usually wide open. You'll see people sitting down, taking a break. And I highly encourage, especially with the summer here, be cognizant. Don't go out there and not drink any water all day. And also, I'm a big sunblock junkie. Put some sunblock on, right, Nick?
On the black, if you're outside, you're on that blacktop too. Get sunblock. Like you said, stay hydrated. And like you said, you live in the South. We know what it's like to live on the South on a beach. I mean, it gets really hot. And if it's going to be one of those summers, people are going to pass out from heat exhaustion. So make sure you stay hydrated.
Hit the show up. Again, thanks to American Force and some of the under vendors that we mentioned that continue to help make this event possible. Give our best to Lauren and Tammy. Nick, any last items you want to throw in there?
Honestly, I think we covered a good bit. It's just, hope to see everybody there. It's always a good time catching up with everybody. I mean, I know we see each other every 3 shows, every month, but it's good to see everybody on my home turf. So can't wait to see everybody.
Oh, yeah. Well, Nick, thank you so much. And everyone stay tuned. We're going to continue this episode and wrap it up. So, Nick, have a great weekend. I know you guys got a little bit more time, and we wish you all the best for the event, guys.
Good deal. Appreciate it, man. Y'all have a good one.
All right. So, man, thanks, Nick, for taking the time. And, again, our podcast is brought to you by Scrapin the Coast. We want to always show them some love. If you get an opportunity, come out to Biloxi. We're super excited to see you out there, and we can't thank you enough for the support, not only of OLP throughout the years, but of Scrapin the Coast. Now, the episode overview, I did jump right into that audio, but I want to give a shout out to Scrapin. As I mentioned, we're going to talk to Nick, and we did. But, oh, by the way, I wanted to dovetail this episode, this kind of special edition episode, into we're going to have Radar on if all goes well. If for some reason I can't link up with Radar, I'll just go ahead and cover the information. But basically, drum roll, we are going to cover the 2024 Mini Truck Hall of Fame inductees. So the committee put together a lot of work, or did a lot of work. Bob Hayes really handled the heavy lifting, so to speak. So I have to thank Bob. Although Bob had announced at the event last year that he was looking to kind of sunset a little bit, pun intended, from the committee and kind of do some other things that he wants to do in life. He did graciously stay on, and he helped with some of the voting this year. So a lot of work goes into it. Doesn't seem like a lot, but certainly it is. So we'll talk to Radar here in just a few minutes. And for the first time, we are going to announce, I think it's the first time we're going to announce the Mini Truck Hall of Fame inductees on the episode, but I'm also going to show you some visuals. So hopefully you're following us or watching us now on YouTube, because you'll get a chance to see, maybe put a face or a photo of a vehicle or with a shop or a business, if you will, with the name. So unique experience to be able to launch, the 2024 inductees here on OLP via this special episode, and I'm excited about it. So thanks for all the support. Episode overview is brought to you by our kinfolk at Hammered Weekend Wear. We tell you time and time again, HAMMERD weekendwear.com. Good people. If you see them at an event, go buy some merch. If you want to check out their website, they have sticker packs, skate decks, shirts, so many cool different designs by Graphic Disorder, by the way. Look up Hammered Weekend Wear and let them know that OLP sent you. Next, we got the breaking news, and this one was a big one. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, certainly this is going to apply to you. The big homie, the left sider, Riggedy Ron Perkins, is back with another show, and this is, of course, in the Pacific Northwest, and this is Relaxin' at the Rock, July 20th, of this year. So in less than about a month from now. If anybody can pull it off, Jeff at Mini Garage said it best. He said Riggedy Ron Perkins certainly can. So if you're in the Pacific Northwest and you want to get together July 20th, there's been a couple of different shows in that region. Some are here to stay. Some are, I think, kind of finding their footing and wanting to do something for the rich history of the entire mini truck scene up in the Pacific Northwest. So if you look up Ron on Instagram or Facebook, Ron Perkins, but he on Instagram goes by the handle Left Sider, SYDER, West Side for Riggedy Ron, or Left Sider, not West Sider, but left, like left of the map, the West Coast. Left Sider on Instagram. Look up Riggedy Ron and check out Relaxin' at the Rock. The breaking news is brought to you by our kinfolk at Lone Star Throwdown. You'd have to be sleeping under a rock not to know that LST goes down every February in Conroe, Texas. Come check it out next year. Typically, the pre-registration is going to start on August 1st, right around there, and we're super excited about that. Hopefully, I'll get to talk for a moment with Radar about LST 2025. But don't forget, Classic Truck Throwdown, their other Throwdown family event, is going down at the same bat location. Different bat time, though. It's going to be the weekend before the 4th of July weekend. So that last weekend in June, that kind of basically gets us into July in Conroe. Hit them up, Classic Truck Throwdown on Instagram. Any trucks that are 25 years or older can participate. The cool thing about this is that if you think back, we're already to the NBS, the new body style Chevys, basically hitting that 25-year mark. Yeah, that means we're all getting old, for sure. Okay, general updates. I want to just say this. Basically, I've been putting the pedal down to get all of this content out. This is an episode I've wanted to do for a while, but we had to kind of wait for everything to come together. Thus, I had to kind of wait a little bit longer than normal to really get Scrapin on. So I really appreciate, any of you that are rolling out to this event right now. You're on the road, you're there, you're maybe on the air flying in. It's going to be amazing. So go by, check out all the amazing vendors, including OLP. As I said before, when you come in to the awesome Coliseum, you're going to make a left and boom, OLP is right there, front and center. There's a lot of other good vendors out there like KIK that is going to be there in attendance. So if you want to show some love, go say what up to Stuart and fam and let them know that OLP sent you. Also, I want to let you know that if all goes well, if the planets align, so basically this episode will be out early, kind of a special edition. And I'm working on another episode that's going to come out late June that's going to tie into a huge milestone in our truck scene. And I think you'll really appreciate it. I've been working on this one for a while. And then after that, I think I'm going to take at least 1, if not 2 weeks off because I've been giving you guys back-to-back episodes. We're basically going to, I'm going to definitely take off the July 4th week because July 4th this year, Independence Day, is on a Thursday. I'll be working that Friday since that's kind of the first week I'm back from vacation. But before the 4th of July week, I'm going to be going on a carnival cruise with the family. I hinted at this recently. My son recently graduated in May. My wife's been planning this cruise for about a year. It's a family cruise, so I'll have some good kinfolk there. Preston will have his cousin, which is my nephew, and we'll just have a great time. So I'm going to be off the grid. If I don't respond at all to any of you, I will be okay. But if you happen to hear this or somebody goes, yo, where's ODB been? I mean, is he doing a Biggity Mike Murray and kind of like you can't get a hold of him? He changed his phone number. The texts aren't delivered. smoke signals aren't working, what the heck is going on, be like, yo, it's okay. I heard the podcast. Remember what he always says, if you want to know where ODB's at, you got to listen to OLP. And ODB said on OLP that he's going on a cruise, so he's good. Don't worry about him, okay? So if all goes well, we'll hit the cruise. We'll have a good time. So that's kind of what I have going on. Again, I'm going to give you guys this episode, which I think is super fun. I want to talk to Radar, but also next week is going to be a lot of history about the scene, but it's going to tie into a key milestone. And I'm hopefully going to drop a few things that you did not know about said topic. The general updates is brought to you by our kinfolk at Southeast Mini Truckin Nationals, known as Mini Nats, of course, every April in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. This was the 30th annual. Next year will be the 31st. The artwork is out already, and we can't thank the good folks, Jason Bell and team, of course, at Mini Truckers Union. But they're just good kinfolk, and we will be there in Maggie Valley next year. Be ready later this year. We'll talk about when the pre-reg opens. And remember, even if you don't get in with a golden ticket, you can still come out and have a good time. Cruising is free. Next, we got the trivia with Mike. Miggity Mike the Mayor. I got one question for you, even though he's not on. I'm going to ask this question to the Mini Truck Syndicate out there, all you Mini Truckers in the Syndicate. Are you in the Syndicate? We got to get some stickers made. And I'm going to ask you this question. Now, some of the ladies, you're going to be out. You may be like, yeah, I don't know. This one's not for me. But I want to ask you, can you name 3 G.I. Joe figures? Okay. Now, I say the ladies. I think there's some ladies out there that love some G.I. Joes. Okay. Don't get me wrong. But I think the dudes that were from my era love our G.I. Joes. Many of you do. Some of you were big Transformer guys. I was more on the G.I. Joe side. And I want you to name 3 G.I. Joes if you can. This is an honor system, okay? We'll get you the tick mark in your binder, I promise. But I'm gonna name 3 of my favorites. So Beachhead, which was the Ranger. He's probably my favorite of all time. I loved that figure, and it's just super cool. Loved his gear, and just an awesome, awesome figure. The Fridge. Okay, he was a mail away. I still have my original one. I didn't sell a lot of my stuff as I got older, but I did sell my G.I. Joe collection. It was a lot of kind of loosies and pieces and things like that. I wish I hadn't, but I did years ago. But I did keep the Fridge, and I have the original football weapon and the little stand. And, of course, I have the original name card. And I remember collecting, for those that may not remember this, you had to collect the points, and you had to mail those in. And it was neat when they did the 25th anniversary of G.I. Joe's. They re-released a bunch of figures in the stores, and you could do the same thing with the points to send in for the medic, which I did, which was super cool. But my son never really got into it, and I got rid of all those figures just because I was like, hey, can't be into every single thing. But certainly the Fridge was one of my other favorite ones. And then Snow Job. I loved Snow Job as a kid because of the skis. Of course, I was from Florida, so what the hell, why would you care? But I always thought he was a cool figure, and I thought it was a little bit different. He was white, so he blended in, of course, to the snow, but he had the skis, and that was a pretty cool accessory. But what are some of your favorites? And even if you didn't have a favorite, maybe you're thinking, what the hell? Maybe I brought back some good memories, and that's what it's about. Love going back, watching some of the cartoons. And let me ask you this. Do you remember the PSAs, the public service announcement deals at the end, where they would use the G.I. Joe cartoon to kind of reiterate some key information? The one I always remember was the cartoon doing the spin on, don't use aerosol or, kind of sprays without being heavy ventilation, okay? And so I promise I didn't breathe in a lot of that stuff. That's not why I'm crazy, because I did watch G.I. Joe. And if you watch G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle. The Trivia with Mike is brought to you by Garage Gear Clothing. Amazing company, garagegearclothing.com. Order merchandise today on their website. They also have free options available. And I want to thank them for the continued support. You can also hit them up any way or anytime that you see them at a show and let them know that OLP sent you, and they'll take care of you. Okay, next we got the scene updates. This one's going to be super clean, super sweet. This weekend we have Scrapin the Coast, the 21st to the 23rd in Biloxi. Okay, I want to remind you though, plus 3 months. In 3 months from now, we're going to be at the freaking weekend back in Biloxi. So please do not forget that the freaking weekend is the 20th through the 22nd. It's going to be a huge party. Mike and I are going to be there, and we cannot wait to hang out with Trip. We heard last year was off the charts. Mike was there, and it's going to be an awesome event. Mini Truck Showdown is this weekend, so for anybody in Bakersfield, have fun. Good luck, Corey and team. And also, again, June 29th through the 30th, you have Travis County Fairgrounds. That is classic Truck Throwdown, the same venue as Scrapin the Coast, as Lone Star Throwdown. The scene updates brought to you by our kinfolk at Colorado Custom Wheels. Colorado Custom with no s.com. Hit them up if you need wheels or other type things such as rear view mirrors and, oh, by the way, billet steering wheels. Hut 1, Hut 2, Hut 3, Hut, Old Dirty Ballard live and uncut. And I just want to say, hey, there's a lot of good people in the scene, and I know sometimes it's hard to support everybody, but let the people know out there that show you love. Let the people know that appreciate you. Let the people know that make you laugh, that you appreciate them. You know, so many people come by. I'm thinking Matt Stone, right, from Texas. We always share a bunch of laughs. I mean, dude, the guy's always laughing. He's always having fun. He's always doing the damn things. So shout out to Matt, one of our big supporters. And, you know, just show the people some love, man. You know, I tell you guys all the time, there's a story I'm not going to tell this time, but a buddy called me yesterday and said, hey, do you remember so-and-so? And I was like, yeah, I kind of remember her. Well, she was found basically dead. And they think it was a freak accident, no foul play. And it's just like, wow. You know, it hits you. And, you know, people will often say this, you never know when it's going to be the last time you can tell someone, hey, I appreciate you. You know, we often hear these stories of, man, I just text so-and-so, or I just saw so-and-so the other day. Ice-T says it all the time. You never know. You never know when your time clock is going to be up. That's what Tony said the other day to me. He goes, we never know when we're going to check out this mother. So, you know, show the people love. You know, if people have inspired you, you know, tell them. You know, that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast. Like, I wanted, if you think back, you may not realize this, but this podcast is 8.5 years now. Scotty the Body, I remember he and I were having a conversation one day, and he says, you know, you've had a lot of people on, I can tell, that have inspired you, or that you followed, or that you wanted to kind of get inside their brain and kind of understand, well, why did they do this? And that's definitely it. He's figured it out. And if there's a way for us to say, hey, man, tip of the cap, a nod to you, you inspire someone. I often hear people talk about trophies and all this stuff. Listen, none of that stuff at the end of the day. How many of us have taken trophies? I took my first one not that long ago, and I literally threw it in the dump. I threw it away, and it was a good feeling, because it's like, it reinforces to me that it's like, you can go to a show, you can get mad, you can get upset, you can do all this stuff, but does that really matter? In 20, 25 years, are you going to look back and say, oh, this award that I got that has dust on it? Who cares, right? I'd rather have a relationship, you know, friends that I've had now for 25 years because I met them at a truck show. That's what's most important. So get out there, show some love to the good people. Many of you do, and if you haven't had an opportunity, do it. ODB Live in a Cut is brought to you by our kinfolk at Local Rides. That's LOCAL Rides, RIDEZ. Mag, hit up Bill and team, buy an issue. It's homegrown. It's good kinfolk. OLP is advertising in there. And I can't thank Bill enough for the support. Podcast updates. This one's quick. Come see us at Scrapin the Coast. We've got some new merchandise. We are not sharing anything until we get there. So get out there, slap hands with Mike and Shannon. Unfortunately, I will not be there because I will be gallivanting onto a ship, and I'll be sailing away for at least a week. So it's one of those things, right? You got to balance in life, and I want to be there. I want to cover the show, but I've got other priorities, and that's kind of part of me sunsetting a little bit, right? And sticking to my guns, so to speak. So with that being said, the podcast update is brought to you by The Freaking Weekend. I mentioned just a moment ago, the 20th through the 22nd of September. Many of you live in this region in the Southeast. Please make plans to come out to The Freaking Weekend. Closing parting words. Again, I want to thank our kinfolk at Scrapin the Coast. I want to thank Joe for coming on the last episode. Many of you gave us great feedback on that episode. Rest in peace to Beaver from Severed Ties. And just know we're going to continue to tell these stories. I have a lot in store for the rest of 2024. But without further ado, let me call Radar, of course, from Garage Gear Clothing. He put together the West Coast Influence. Really needs no introduction. Oh, by the way, Lone Star Throwdown, classic Truck Throwdown. And he's our leader at the Mini Truck Hall of Fame. So what I want to do is tip my cap to him. He's inspired me in many ways. And I want to talk to him now about the 2024 Mini Truck Hall of Fame inductees. ODB, we got you. Be safe this weekend. And if I don't chat with you, have a safe 4th of July. I know that's a couple weeks away. If you go to Conroe for Classic Truck Throwdown, be safe, drink a lot of water. And oh, by the way, again, don't blow your hand off on 4th of July with those firecrackers. Take care, y'all. We got you. Hey, as I mentioned, I'm going to call Radar. And Radar, thanks for picking up, man. Always appreciate your friendship and what you do for the truck scene.
Sure, man. I appreciate you having me on and talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Before we talk about the Hall of Fame, I'm going to share a few things with some folks here so they get a visual. I know that, you and some of the your kinfolk, they ended up kind of growing the LST family, and I just want to make sure we plug that Classic Truck Throwdown's coming up here that last weekend in June. And
yes, sir.
I know it's a big thing for Texas there in Conroe, and I'm excited for all of you guys.
Yep, June 29th and 30th. I had to look at the calendar. But, yeah, it's all trucks that are 25 years and older, which is weird to say that 99 and back is 25 years and older.
Yeah,
so
I was thinking that earlier, when you think of new body style, right? I guess they call them NBS. We're already repeating from 88 to 98s into those, and it's just wild.
Yeah, another year in 2000 will be the 25 year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is nuts. But in addition to, we always say you'd have to be living under a rock not to know what Lone Star Throwdown is. But I would imagine as time goes on, they just need to kind of keep their eyes peeled to social media because later this year, typically in August, give or take, they'll start to see that pre-reg open, and that's going to be kind of the hysteria for people to kind of get in because really, I think in the truck scene, we've been saying this, it's really the hottest ticket out there, and I know that's a good feeling for you guys.
Yeah, it's pretty wild when Lonnie and I sat down and wanted to do this, and we would have been stoked to have 600 cars show up, which the first year we did.
Right.
And then what it's blossomed into, we would have never, we couldn't have fought to do that. It's just cool how everybody in the truck community is ready to, February, everybody's ready. The holidays are over with. We're ready to get out and start seeing our friends and cool trucks that got built over the holidays and, just get back at it.
Yeah, it's neat over the course of time to see that field out, that main field, like you just keep walking and it's more and more trucks. It's enthusiasts out there, cooking up food, hitting the food vendors, cruising the big loop and things like that. I had fun hanging out with Louisiana Classics, Chris and his whole crew. They come out, they were way out there on that backside of the big building and just so many cool things. Everything from a Lincoln Continental with, twin turbos to, a little bit of lifted, but of course a lot of trucks. And I know that's near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the mini truckers, don't forget, we do a top 10 mini truck. It's a nice billet award. We give 10 of those out every year on top of, best interiors and all that stuff, but really cool mini truck awards.
Yeah, and I see you're wearing the Phil Built hat.
Yep.
I know you want to give a shout out to your probably your favorite Canadian up there.
Yeah, my Canadian buddy.
He's up there with Michael J. Fox for me. I'm a big Michael J. Fox fan, but Phil Built, if you happen to hear this, we love the awards that you do, and it's really cool that you guys have kind of really left your stamp, right, your thumbprint on the scene with kind of ratcheting that up. I mean, we're starting to see with that Triple Crown Hot Rod show that was so big last year and some of the stuff that they're doing. I would venture to say that, Lone Star out there really has pushed the envelope as it relates to any awards. And the ironic thing is none of us do it for the awards, but it is more than fulfilling to get a pat on the back and say, wow, look what you guys have created.
Yeah, especially when you get an award like that. And, Lonnie and a lot of our guys out here, they went to, I think it was it Truckin that did that sport truck? Or was it actually Sport Truck Magazine in Dallas years ago?
Yeah, Truck. I think it was Truckin because Truckin did a couple of them.
Yeah, I think it was Sport Truck Nationals, or I don't remember. But
Something like that, yeah.
They had Boyd Awards. Boyd had an award division that they were building all these cool billet awards with, and I think Lonnie has one. And it was like, man, it'd be cool to try to duplicate something like this. And then we ran into Phil, and the rest is what it is. So, really cool stuff.
Yeah, I still got to give it up to Pascal for holding the flag, right? The mini trucker that took the bay, and he arguably had the greatest bay legacy, right? You know, kind of his. You know,
he's like He's the one that started it all,
dude. Got to give it up for the GOAT, man.
Yeah. He raised the bar with all that.
You know, the hockey guys are after the Stanley Cup. You know, we're after the bay,
right?
Hey, I wanted to transition, you know, and value your time and kind of say, you know, I'm very thankful for the opportunity, as I know that you are as well. You know, we've become good friends over the course of time. And I did want to just briefly go through the Mini Truck Hall of Fame 2024 inductees. I know Bob Hayes and the whole committee did kind of a lot to pull this together. And if you're cool with it, we can go through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know on behalf of Radar and myself, we want to thank Bob. You know, Bob started the Hall of Fame just over 10 years ago. I think the first inductees from my list are from 2013. And if you really count them, I think technically it was over 100, but really when you get down the nuts and bolts, about 94 inductees total. And, you know, Bob did announce, you know, at the ceremony last year, Radar and I were there, that he was going to be kind of sunsetting, you know, pun intended, a little bit, and looking to kind of move on and do some other things he wants to do. But I know, Radar, I would like to thank Bob because, you know, his commitment to the scene for over 50 plus years, and then plus what he did to start this Hall of Fame is just so cool. We're so lucky.
No, we are, and I'm just glad that he took the reins, because who else would have the rights to do that, if that makes any sense? I mean, Bob's old school mini truckers, been there, done that, and it's cool that he latched onto it and ran with it. And look at all the people that got recognized for their accomplishments.
Yeah, I love seeing it. And Bob would want me to mention this. He was out at Mini Nats this year promoting, talking to a lot of folks. He is going to bring back Rezo, aka Resolutions, for one final hurrah. I think to mark the 50th anniversary. And if I remember correctly, that's going to be at the end of 2025. So everybody got about a year and a half, I think, to really plan that. But that's great for him.
Yeah, that's going to be a good idea, or going to be a good time.
Oh, yeah. So now, without further ado, we're going to look at some of the inductees. And I won't read through this whole thing, but I do have a visual on the next. What's really cool is some of the folks, Radar and I know this, that some folks are inducted into the Hall of Fame a couple of times. But this one was really special because Sean Carlson unfortunately passed away at a very young age. And he was voted in posthumously the first year. And I know a lot of times, you know, that's an unfortunate thing because someone kind of gets in because they passed away. But the committee had voted, and we felt strongly that the Courtney Hallowell Lifetime Achievement Award went to Sean. And Radar, you know this. If you think about Last Look, arguably one of the greatest of all time, you know, he had his hands in that. He shot that cover. But then you'll remember us all hearing the crazy stuff about the Forerunner back in the day. So what a legacy he left behind. And I was happy to hear that Sean's name was called again.
Yeah, and even think about it beyond the mini truck stuff. You know, Sean has built a lot of race cars. He drove for Dodge for a little while, I think.
That's a good point.
Or maybe he was GM. I don't remember, but, you know, he had a racing career too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was Mopar. But, man, you think about the racing career he had and the things that he was doing and chassis and all of his fabrication skills. You know, what would he be doing today? That's the sad thing.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, we'll get some of this kind of written word out a little bit more as we kind of really start to announce all this. But, you know, to your point, this is a photo that I took of him at Nopi in the middle back like 99, 2000. And, you know, he shot Last Look. Of course, he had his hands in about 10 cover credits. But, you know, he's one of those folks when we had Trevor on, shout out to Trevor, you probably have heard this as well, but, you know, there's a lot of lineage, to use Ronnie's word from C10 Talk. There's a lot of lineage that goes back to that Stephalopoulos, I always say the name wrong, his buddy and him, that they were kind of the foundation for what is known as Fast and the Furious, right? There's people that argue that film was created kind of to talk about their life a little bit to a certain extent. And I mean, just to have that in the conversation is cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, there was something about that. And, Dion, of course, owned this truck. We'll hear his name in a moment. But what's so cool is there are a couple of behind-the-scene photos with the model and the jet ski and all of that cool stuff that Cal Concepts had their hand in. And, it's definitely an honor. And I know Trevor and his family, they were happy to hear that. Next, we have the truck, and this one I think could sow a little bit of debate for folks. But one of the things about Raw Deal was that, for those that didn't know, Joe and Joanna Fontanilla, they had this '82 SR5. We all call it an Toyota pickup. This was back on issue 3 of Mini Truckin Magazine. It was the first Toyota on the cover. And what's cool, Radar, is although you and I, and you've been doing this arguably longer than I have, the old debates about, mini trucks and wire wheels, right? But this truck was kind of in a class of its own in the early infancy days of what we know now as mini trucking.
Yeah, I mean, it had the lowrider style, but I mean, with a convertible top and the front spoiler, I mean, that's pretty mini truck.
Yep, exactly. And when you think of when the committee really thought through this one, and we said, okay, if WWE, also known as Wrapped with Envy, is in, these trucks went back and forth back in the day. And again, this may not be a household name for the youngsters these days, but when you think about the lineage, and the key thing that we want to do with the Hall of Fame is we want to show love to those that really helped us get us where we're at. But at the same time, we want to value the rich history of the scene. And of course, Alan Paradise shot it. Radar, Alan, and what a good guy he is. But it was super cool to hear Raw Deal was called.
Yeah, it was very cool. And Alan's a great guy.
Oh, yeah. And Alan shot 1 of 5 total covers. This truck was shot at Mission Beach, San Diego, I believe. Belmont Park is what Alan had told me in the past. But it also had Dayton wire wheels, which is a rare sight on the cover of Mini Truckin', but certainly it gets the nod there. Next, over the course of time, the committee has rebranded the Editor Award to the Steve Stillwell Media Award. And the thought process there is, as the magazines continued to grow, we had other forms of media, the DVDs, the online forums, and things like that. But this one was special to me because if you break down Wes Allison, and you think about how many covers he shot 57 covers. The next closest editor or any contributor to that publication was at 28, Radar. So certainly Wes left his stamp on Mini Truckin Magazine.
You got some crazy stats, man. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. He set the bar arguably high, and, tip of the cap to Wes Allison. I guarantee you when Radar and I were waiting by the post office box or, our mailbox, so to speak, how many of those covers did we get to see for the first time opening the mailbox? So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's I figured it would have been like a Courtney or Mike Shardis or somebody of that nature.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had the same thoughts, and it was crazy to know that when you really break it down. And there were even some paying homage to Van Halen a couple years ago. I was looking back at that famous sport truck cover, and you look at the very, very small font, and I go, wow. I never realized Wes shot this one. So he's had his hand in so much.
There's no telling how many covers or any features, because I remember seeing his name in Truckin' as well. Because those guys just did whatever.
Yeah, if you think about Crew Cut, when it was shot, that famous, I think at Doc Weiler or wherever it was shot, it just is mind-blowing. Pretty cool there. But the event, so this one was a big one, and Courtney wrote about this in Street Trucks many years ago. I got a chance to go twice, Radar, back in the day with my buddy Russ. Indy Truck Bash. Over the course of time, it did morph. I want to eventually tell that story. I don't know all the ins and outs. Courtney led on in Street Trucks that it maybe had something to do with Indy and the race there. Maybe there was some connection, but we all know it is Indy Truck Bash, aka ITB. And pretty cool. I don't know all the names there. I remember seeing David Figg's name in the magazines, but it's got to be an honor, Radar, for those kinfolk to get voted in.
Yeah, absolutely. That show ran for a while, and I unfortunately never went. It was always hard for me to try to get away, but
Yep.
man, I know a lot of guys that would go up there and they had a ball.
Yeah, I remember seeing Duck up there from NC, and then
Yep.
I got a chance to meet some good NC folks this year at Mini Nats, and there's a gentleman you might have met him over the course of time. His name was Jake, and back in the day he had a blue Suburban, and then I think now he's kind of into the vintage camping stuff. But I remember seeing his Bourbon up there, and I just was like, so many complete awesome finish mini trucks at that show. And years ago, I think 02, 03, Courtney, they did rest in peace to Courtney, they did a cruise across the country to it. So I mean, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I do remember that. I need to go through all that stuff, man. You're bringing up the memories in my brain of all that.
Hey, a birdie once told me that maybe there'll eventually be a West Coast Influence Part 2, but for now, there's other things on our minds, right?
We'll see what happens.
You see what happens. Now, the company, this one was a big one. There's a couple, if you're watching this on YouTube, when this drops, there's a couple of kind of bullet points that you'll see. But Alter Images, the ironic thing, Radar, when I first got in the scene and I started picking up the magazines, I called Alter Images. Steve was cool. I bought some parts from him, and he sent me a VHS tape that was like kind of a homegrown. There's a lot of good gems on it. But when you think about, although other companies were in the mix, Roll Pan, they didn't coin the term. They kind of made it a household name. But if you think about the infancy of mail order parts, those guys were at it as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. They were knocking out the Lexan back windows and the caddy taillight buckets, and yeah, I remember seeing those ads.
Oh yeah, and if you think about the fact, tip of the cap to Bob Grant, having those early days working there, and we have proof because of the VHS tape, right? And those guys over the course of time, the art that they created, there's no doubt that those guys left, and they're still continuing to do so. More so with Bob, because of course Steve has kind of moved on and he took his mini truck skills into like more of an artistic type thing. But it's super cool to see that those guys still kind of have their leg in this. And of course, Bob's operating his business as usual, but Alter Images certainly left their stamp.
Yeah, but look at the talent Bob's got.
Oh yeah,
Bob's amazing.
Yeah, and you think about the C10 guys that have really gravitated to Bob, and even Brandon with building those crew caps, right? And the stuff that the early things that they did. I remember Bob, I think, being on. I know this is about Alter, but thinking about Bob too, being on, I think, on a West Coast Influence, and maybe even an extensive. It was an episode where a couple of those guys, Sean Mahaney, rest in peace, a few of those crazy minds got together. It might have been Monster Garage, and they were doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember
if.
Was it a Monster Garage deal?
There was one. I want to say it was Ryan Fringlinghouse.
Yeah, it was West Coast Customs.
That's what it was.
They were doing suicide doors on, I think, Bieber's car or something like that.
Yeah, it was something crazy, and Sean was like, "We're going to do it this way," and it was something like that. I think even Extensive Man came out for one of those.
Yeah, I think it was Bill and Bob that showed up there.
Bill and Bob. That sounds like a good show. The Mini Truck Memorial Award. So I didn't know Alex as well as so many. I have a couple of funny tie-ins, and we had Alex who on the podcast, Alex Anderson. But I tell you, much like Courtney, Radar, when you mention Alex who or Alex Anderson, so many people, whether it's tearing up or having a story about this guy, and his legacy continues to live on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Alex was an older guy, so he'd been involved for a long time. Like you said there, I mean, he worked for Pete Santini for a little while. I think he was, either prepping cars or trucks or whatever. And I think he's been a part of painting a few mini trucks before he moved on.
Yeah, it's crazy. And although he passed away, I remember he must have had a very tight relationship, because he talked about Ryan Fringlinghouse on OLP. And I thought it was super cool. You think about Ryan, arguably, maybe the most successful person to kind of shoot out of the mini truck scene, right? With this whole empire he built, but he still took the time to pay homage to his friend, and they had a huge celebration at West Coast Customs. I thought, like, wow, what a way to pay homage to your friend.
Yeah, I think Alex worked on and off for him for many, many years. And, I think their friendship went beyond, obviously, work.
Yeah, and it meant, I don't usually talk about this, but it meant a lot. Like when we have someone on and we curate the questions in a way to kind of tell the person's life story. And this was one of the examples, Radar, that a family member reached out, I think it was his daughter, and said, hey, is there any way that we could get that audio? And I know Jason Mulligan reached out to use it as well for the memorial. And that meant a lot. But, hearing from the daughter to say, hey, it kind of helps summarize my dad's life. And I just was like, wow, we never did it for that reason, but at the same time, for someone like Alex to get the nod from the committee, I thought was truly inspiring.
Yeah.
And this was a photo of Ryan at West Coast Customs, paying homage with the Alex Who shirt. I got to thank one of my buddies out there. He had got me one of the shirts when he attended this, and I can't thank him enough. And of course, there's the photo that I found. Tito made me do it. What a cool tattoo there.
Yeah.
Okay. Winding down here, we got a few left. So the builder, Jimmy Graham builds a Nissan hardbody back in the day with the Frontier front end, street trucks. I think it was March 03 cover. He builds Jen Lacey along with his friend Shane. They build that truck. It becomes Mini Truck of the Year 2005. And then My Truck Bada Bing became the Mini Truck Magazine 2013 Mini Truck of the Year. It was cool that, Radar, I know that you'll appreciate this. We often hear Texas being the third coast, right?
Right.
And, you think about Florida back in the day, it was kind of the armpit of mini truck, and it was like the funny jokes. It was the neons. It was this, it was that. But if you think about Texas has really held its own for years and years and years. I think Florida has as well. So this one, I think, will be one that folks on the East Coast really remember as, hey, pretty cool that Jimmy got in.
Yeah, I agree. And the stuff he builds now is absolutely awesome. I mean, it's hard to find something that comes out of that shop you don't like.
Yeah, I wonder if Graham kicks himself. Every time I look at photos of that Titan Dually, I'm like, damn, I know you were ready to move on, but that truck is awesome.
Yeah, he built a lot of cool stuff out of there. Still is.
Yeah, and thanks to Jimmy for all the support over the years, but certainly a good dude. Here was, I got a chance to put my truck on the cover, lay him out at the magazine rack years ago. A couple of features. What's crazy is Mike Hills also won Street Trucks Magazine Truck of the Year. And then you have a couple of different features. Of course, Street Trucks ran Pretty in Pink as well, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now, this one was a big one, right? So I know, Cal Concepts arguably is one of the greatest of all time in terms of their contributions to the scene, much like Doug Starbuck. I mean, touched so many rides, full size and minis. But Dion, of course, as you know, operates Cal Concepts. Along with Craig at Air Syndicate, they really almost corner the entire genre of like what I think of as like West Coast graphics. Dion owned Last Look. For those that did not know, we had him on years ago. He also owned the S10 that was on the cover with the plane, which was super cool. But, Radar, they continue to push out amazing paint jobs. If you think about, ironically enough, Graham Hancock's Titan Dually that we just talked about, it would be a travesty if Dion as a painter wasn't in, although he is in a couple of categories, but I thought this was a really good one.
Yeah, it's perfect. It was bound to happen. I mean, you can't, like you said, you can't think of a painter and with the mini trucks and the tribal style, West Coast style graphics without him.
Oh yeah, and he's a top-notch guy. He works hard, and of course they put the hours in. Of course, I think they even got into the jet ski type stuff, and they painted everything. So, congratulations to Dion. And I'm not going to try to say his last name because I butchered it every time, Radar.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to even try it.
Here's a few photos. The one kind of on the right is cut off, but let's not forget Killin' Time. Radar mentioned earlier with Sean Carlson, and Sean Carlson's brother reminded me of the name Killin' Time. Of course, you see New Forms on the windshield banner, but a long legacy of trucks and arguably some of the greatest of all time. There's Dion's S10, and there's the plane that they painted in the background, which is kind of crazy.
That's really cool.
Now, this one is one that made me feel good. Pebble Pushers have been around a long time. They started in '94 as the club. There's an amazing bunch of kinfolk, and I never thought about this till the other day, Radar. There's many Dord trucks in that club, And it might be the only club that on their resume, they really, they were like, pushing pebbles, right? That they really had an inspiration for having those door trucks in their club, and they still do.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And Pebble Pushers 94 on Instagram. Good kinfolk. Congratulations.
And it's a good time because that'd be their 30th anniversary, I guess, this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So it's cool. Radar and I have had a lot of good conversations. I know there's other members on the committee that contributed as well, including Bob. And, the big thing, and we'll talk more about this as we go on, is we just want to pay homage to those that help get us to where we're at. Of course, there's a lot of good people over the course of time. I think that will continue to get in, but certainly this is going to push us well past 100. And I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, and it was cool because we ended up with a bunch of new committee members this year, and you never know how that everybody's going to mesh together, but I felt like it went pretty well through all the voting.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I got to ask you one mini truck, maybe one or two quick ones before we let you go. When you sold the was it the bullet side that you had? I always look back at that truck, and it was on that cover of the DVD, of course, the West Coast Influence. And I look at a cool truck like that and say, man, it's so awesome. What was the thought process in selling it? Were you like, man, I got to kick this one down because I want to focus on some other ones and make room?
I had a guy message me, and he had a white 620 when he was a kid driving high school. And I don't even know how he just randomly saw it I think he was maybe have been in a 620 group.
Okay.
And he's like, man, I got to have that thing. I was like, oh, it's really not for sale. So made him an offer, and they were at a family reunion in Central Texas. They actually kind of came down this way, kind of backtracked a little bit, and came to the house, looked at it. He's like, yeah, I want it. So I sold it off, and then I ended up, using that money to fund the 9 million other projects I've got around here. So I hated to see that one go, but when somebody offers you money for something that, you've got more in, I guess so.
Yeah, and it's always just, and I always just like to kind of know the motivation behind it. And to your point, it's like, you could tell when someone really wants something, and it's cool if you go, well, hey, here's the price, and they go, okay, well, no problem. I want it. You're like, okay, wow, that was easy. I didn't have to deal with the Facebook Marketplace, tire kickers, and all that stuff.
And I felt like he's an older guy. He's not going to go now. If he wants to repaint it, do all that's great. Take the airbags off, that's great. But I feel like that he's actually going to take care of that truck and maybe make it better.
Yeah, and not just give it to somebody that doesn't really give a
flying. And not just go tear it up, drag it down the street.
Yeah, last question. The Isuzu Space Cab, you reacquired that years ago. Is that still under your ownership? Yeah,
it's in the garage at the house. I have so many projects I keep dancing around. I want to pull that thing in here, and I need to pull the motor out. It needs to be regasketed. I want to cut the back suspension off because they did some crazy cantilever. But the paint, it needs a ton of work. I mean, it's bad in a couple spots. The interior's got to be completely gutted from the dash to the headliner all the way back. So basically, and I need to get in here and start getting into it, but it's also the things like, God, I've already been there, done that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to spend $30,000 on this damn thing again. And
so it's that balance, and I know, and sometimes it's good just knowing, because I got a 90 Mazda that I picked up, and I can drive it around. I've had to do a couple of things. I worked on it the other day, kind of doing some old stereo in it, and it needs a little bit more money, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm channeling some funds here. So to your point, it's like sometimes just knowing it's on the back burner, it's in your ownership, there's nothing pressing. It's like, I'll get to it when I get to it. It might be dare I say, a retirement type deal. So
I don't think I'm ever going to retire. I don't think I have the money to do that. But yeah, I mean, I back to the whole spending the money on it. It's like I want to build something new because I have all the ideas in my head, but it's work obviously keeps me busy, and then I want to build something new. I want to bring something out new because it's been forever since I've built something of my own. But then I also want to bring that thing back out just to see what people say, try to freshen it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we know one show it qualifies for, a Classic Truck Throwdown, so one of these years maybe we'll see it out there.
Maybe we'll be lucky.
Could you imagine ever hearing an Isuzu Space Cab as a classic truck. I know my S10's a 94, and it's crazy to think that it's 30 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I just think about the trucks that are 99. Like, we're accepting trucks that are 99 and back for a classic. I mean, that's, you think classic, you think of a 65 Chevy or, a C10 or something. Like, no, you're looking at, 88 to 98 Chevys now and 99. That's the newer body style.
Yeah, it's something for a whole nother podcast is if you think about, we were talking briefly at the beginning before we started about how big the automotive world is now, with the Roadster shops and the Mecums and Barrett Jacksons and all these crazy things going on. And then, you think about how Ronnie talked about this with the good guys, right? They used to be like lining the ground, lining the sand. But now you have the Grand National Roadster Show realizing, like, wow, let's have a truck show. And I think that's going to be in September. I know Juan, one of our committee members, he's helped a lot with that in the past. So I think, like, we're going to continue to see some crazy prices with stuff creeping up. And it's cool that you have it on the back burner because it's like, hey, it's in your ownership. And when the time is right, I have a feeling you'll put some time into it.
Yeah, I definitely will. And I've got a lot of ideas, and I still want to change a few things on it, not take it too far away from what it was. But still want to keep the root of it, I guess. Yeah, the essence of it. But it's sitting over there. Every once in a while, I'll go look at it. Yep, it's still over there. Still leaking fluids on the ground, but it's over there.
I like it, Radar. Well, listen, I know you're a busy guy. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Sure.
Tip of the cap to you. Thank you for helping carry on the legacy. I mean this all with all respect. You've done a lot for the scene over the years. You guys are still doing it. And together, we're going to keep the scene going, hopefully for a couple of generations to come. If not more.
I hope so too, and I really appreciate your help and all the other committee guys. We're gonna need sponsors for rings and all that stuff coming up. So if anybody's got a business that would like to chuck up some money to sponsor certain people, we'll hopefully have an account set up here in a few days and a payment spot to send some money to. But get a hold of me or Jason, and we'll try to get you in the right spot.
Yeah, absolutely. To Radar's point, you saw some of the names earlier. Some of them, I think, we've got a couple names down. But, if there's anything you can do, if you have a business or you want a little bit of exposure, we're definitely thinking through some ways to give you that exposure. But at the same time, really make sure that we get the ring for the individual and their legacy can be cemented. Thank you so much, Radar. Have a good rest of your week. And
sure,
you guys drink plenty of water at Classic Truck Throwdown, brother.
Oh, yeah. Already starting.
All right, man. We'll see you.